Good day everyone. Today I am going to perform relay 6 entitled interlocking and holding relay. In this relay, we will combine the previous relay 4, holding and relay 5 interlocking relays. So let's click play. Let's take a look at the wire diagram or the electrical diagram here. This system works if we will start the circuit breaker PL3 and PL4 will be turned off because this is normally contact. However, if we press this PB2, the current now will not be able to flow through the first line here. Hence, energizing the R1 here. If this is energized, the holding R1 will close. So we can now release our finger because the R1 will remain closed at all time. If R1 is energized, the R1 on the second is de-energized. Hence, it will open. So no matter what we click this PB3, the current will not able to flow because there is an open circuit. Hence, this R2 will remain in its de-energized form and the PL3 will turn on. To stop or turn off this PL3 or to de-energize this R1, we have to press this PB1, and if we press the PB1, the current will not be able to flow in the first line. So this R1 will return to its de-energized state. The second line R1 will close and the third line R1 will open. So PL3 and PL4 is now turned off. If we click this PB3, the current will now be able to flow, energizing this R2, and the holding R2 will now close, and then current now will be able to flow in their designated path here. No matter if we will release our finger in the PB3, the current still flow in the path. We need to know that if this R2 is the second is closed, the R2 in the first line will open. No matter how we click this PB2, this R1 will remain in its de-energized state. If the second R2 is activated, the holding R2 will close. The third line R1 remain as is. The fourth line R2 will close and the PL4 will now turn on. If you want to off this PL4 or de-energize the second line R2, you will have to click the PB1 to interrupt the path or connection. If the PB1 is open, the current now will not be able to flow in the second line R2 and it will return to its de-energized state. So let's wire now the circuit, and we will have to do it wire per wire. First, the 24 volts to the input of PB1 or the positive to the input of PB1. Next, the output of the PB1 to the input of PB2. Next, the output of the PB2 to the 13 of the R1. Next, the 14 of the R1 to the 9 of the R2. And then the 1 of the R2 to the negative or the 0 volts of our power supply. So we are done for that first level, and now we can connect this holding contact here. So the 10 of the R1 to the input of the PB2. Next, the 6 of the R1, we will connect it to the output of the PB2. Next, the input of the PB3, we will connect it to the 10 of the R1 here, so it will be much easier. Next, the output of the PB3, we will connect it to the 13 of the R2. Next, the 14 of the R2 into the 9 of R1. Next, 1 of the R1, we will connect it to the 1 of the R2, so it will be much easier. So we are done. Now we will connect its holding contact here. So we will connect the 10 of the R2 into the input of the PB3. Next, the 6 of the R2 into the output of the PB3. On the next level, let's connect the 11 of the R1 to the input of the PB1. And then the 7 of the R1 to the input of the PL3. Next, the output of the PL3 to the terminal 1 of the R2. So it will much easier for us. We can move now. We can move on now to the 11 of the R2 and connect it to the input of the PB1. Next, for the terminal 7 of the R2 to the input of the PL4. Next, the output of the PL4, and we will connect it to the terminal 1 of the R2 here. Let us now click the submit button, and we will assume that should be not PL or pilot lamp that will be turned on. Let's click, and it is passed 19/19. Let us now press this PB2, and then the PL3 of the R1 is on or in its energized state, and if I release this PL3, we will turn on, and R1 we will still activate. So no matter what, if you press this PB3, the relay 2 will remain de-energized, and then the PL4 will remain turned off. We will have to press this PB1 to turn it off before we can press this PB3, and then if I release this PB3, the PL4 will remain on, and then the relay 2 will remain activate or energized. So the holding contact here is holding properly, and if no matter what how I press the PB2, the relay 1 is not turning on, and then the PL3 is not turned off. We can only turn the PB2 if you press the PB1. Thank you for watching.